Welcome to the Creative Mind Smart Money podcast, where we turn financial confusion into creative confidence. I'm Samantha Eck, bookkeeper and fractional CFO for creative entrepreneurs. Each week, I'm sharing my financial expertise and actionable strategies to help you build a thriving creative business. Plus, you'll hear from industry experts who bring fresh perspectives on growing your business beyond the numbers. Because building a successful creative business starts with strong financial foundations. Your next chapter starts now. You're listening to the Creative Mind Smart Money podcast, and today I have a special guest with me, Cassidy Handle. After being fired from a podcasting job and purchasing a new home, Cassidy started her own business. Now, 1.5 years in, it's successful. She works from home with her daughter and has done the books herself, driven by a need for control and a fear of financial vulnerability, especially when it comes to trusting a bookkeeper. But when she took a step back, she realized that anyone can impact finances, from customers, business partners, employees, and more. Understanding that it was worth learning the process, but also worth delegating, Cassidy chose to let go so she could pour more into her business and her family. Awesome. So how are you today, Cassidy? It's so good to have you here.
I'm excited. I haven't yet delegated, but I'm right there and I'm ready to, and I'm open to the idea. Whereas before I was more like totally anti and totally I need to keep my hands on my money just for fear of all the worst case scenarios, that can happen if somebody were to take over my bank account and transfer all my money out of it or something. And I'm sure a lot of other business owners can relate to that feeling of I'm finally got money coming in and I finally got a business. And it was so scary to think of somebody running off with it or doing something devastating to it.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel that. I've had a lot of people whenever I ask for, I need all the bank access, I need all this stuff. And I'm like, it's okay. I'm not going to, the only access you're going to give me is view only access. So I can't actually do anything. I can only look at your accounts and be like, I'm going to pull a statement. I'm going to do this. But I feel like that's a very real fear because a lot of people don't know that there is that type of access. They think that when you're giving them access to your bank account, you're going to have access to every single small part of it. So
Right.
that's definitely a very real fear.
Yeah.
Before we really dive into the meat of the topics that we want to talk about, why don't you tell me a little bit about you, what you do, what led you to leave your traditional employment, and what that transition to business life was like for you?
Sure. So prior to working on the internet, I was a dental assistant, and then I became a mom and I wanted to work from home. And I worked as a podcast manager, actually, funny enough, for a podcast. And it was really fun. But at the time, I had undiagnosed ADHD. I was not medicated. And I had all the typical symptoms, but it really presented as I was withdrawn and I was not the best employee. I couldn't take direction and follow it through very well. And so I ended up losing that job. I got fired 2 days after moving into this house that I had just purchased on account of the money that I was making from that job. It was a really scary moment. I was still in a relationship with my daughter's father at that time. And so we had his income, but his income isn't enough to sustain us anyway. So I needed money coming in. And that boss had told me at one point, she said, if you ever don't work for me, you'd be a great copywriter. And I remember when she said that, I thought, oh, what an odd thing to say to someone who works for you, that if we don't work together, I took that and I put it in my back pocket, and that came back up when she fired me. And I really do. I know you're faith-based too. And so for me, I really feel like it was a God thing. I feel like God reminded me of that statement and that seed that was planted. And so I went straight to YouTube, and I didn't have any money at that time to invest in a copywriting course. I learned everything I know off YouTube and blog posts and just for free. And I had written some emails, launch sequences for that podcast. So I wasn't totally unfamiliar with what copywriting was, but yeah, I just started posting on social media. I really just wung it for the first several months. And within 28 days, signed my first client through LinkedIn, actually. And then from there, it's just grown. And now I am a single mom, and I'm a single self-sustaining mom. And this business has just been the biggest blessing. And it's so funny because every time I see a new vision or I get a new download, I feel like almost from the Holy Spirit for what to do next with it, I always say I'll never say never again, because everything I said I wouldn't do has been things that I've ended up doing, whether it's hiring a team or delegating things. And so I can't say never anymore. I just really have to listen and lean in. And he has never led me astray. I will say this business is something that younger me would have dreamed of having, but never trusted myself to build. And it's not me who built it alone, glory to him. So that's really important, I think, to mention.
Yes. And I love that you mentioned that because I do think it is so important because, becoming someone who's self-made and running your own business is not something easy. And I can resonate a lot with that. Like, obviously, I did have my husband to back me up with a lot of the money, but when I left my corporate job as well, like, we had savings and, like, same thing, his money was not enough to sustain us at all. So it was like, I need to get clients. I need to work my butt off and I need to get there. And there were moments where I was like, I don't think I'm meant to do this. Like, I don't think he wants me doing this because it's not happening the way that I wanted to, but it happened the way he wanted to. So, like, God gave me the clients when I needed them. And I just stopped learning to doubt it, because every time I doubted something, he would give me a new client and I was like, okay, this is where I'm meant to be. So it's so true that you can honestly doubt like what you're doing or feel like, okay, maybe I'm not in the right place, but he always provides and he's always going to be there and he's always going to show you the right way forward, which I think is so important.
Totally. And he'll always qualify you. I mean, I didn't feel there's been clients I've signed that I was like, I don't know how this person, with 1 million followers on Instagram is trusting me to write their next 30 days of posts. It feels crazy. I feel unqualified. And imposter syndrome, I think, is like the common way of describing that feeling.
Yeah.
But unqualified is just the word I keep coming back to. And then he really just called me to do it. And then I really do. I pray over every client every time I sit down to write anything. I always pray and ask for guidance because I feel that if I did it out of strength alone, it would be a fraction of what I'm producing now. And he's just really, sometimes I bit off more than I can chew. And I feel like it's a blessing financially, but then I realize I need to scale back and work on something else. And so just trusting his guidance in that way.
Yeah, I love that. And I recently hired like a Christian coach and she's teaching me how to pray over my business in different ways. Because a lot of the times I think when I was praying over my business, I was like, the way I would say it is like, I wish for success in a way that like honors you and like however you choose to show that success. Because I feel like a lot of the times we want success in different ways than God wants success. So I was like, you know what, well, however you want success. But she's like, you need to pray over every small part of your business. You can't just pray over just the bigger picture. Pray over where you're supposed to be marketing. Pray over where you're supposed to be doing this stuff. And I'm like, I never really think of like all the small stuff. I'm like, we only look at the big picture. But there's so much that goes into how we build our business that if we just ask those questions,
Sure.
and like he'll tell us, we'll be able to tell,
And I think with the money thing, it's so easy to get stuck on that 10K month or that 5K month, that one number. And just pray on that and just focus on that. Or as Christians, I think sometimes we feel guilty about wanting more money and wanting more, especially when it's like, I want 10K months so I can do all these things. And what I've really leaned into, and I feel like he blesses me further on, is when I think of the impact it can have on other people. I just, hired a VA and the impact that it can have on her life, or potentially when we expand the team. I just had a prophetic word yesterday come in about that maybe this is going to expand into a micro agency that serves faith-led businesses. And I have always said I would never go agency, that I just want to make enough to take care of me and mine, and I'll be happy with that. And I feel like yesterday he said, you need to dream bigger because this isn't just going to be for you. That would be so selfish if all I did was change your life with this and nobody else's. And so I feel like he's like, dream bigger and pray bigger because we're going to help a lot of people with this. It's not just going to be all about you. And it was like one of those moments where you just feel on fire. You're not always on fire as a Christian. Sometimes you go a little lukewarm. Sometimes you're like, is he really working in the midst right now? Because I'm really maybe not seeing the results of that. And yesterday having that clarity, that moment of like, and it didn't come from me because I've always said I didn't want an agency. I don't want to expand that big. I just want to do it for me. And I'm like, oh man, to be able to, pay off debt for somebody or put somebody through a program or pay off someone's house or whatever it is, stuff like that, big impact that can go beyond just us. And in that, you'll still be taken care of. If you can afford to do something like that for someone, chances are you're taken care of too. But it just isn't all about you at that point. And so being open to the fact that maybe growth is going to be more than what you ever envisioned, but it's going to call you to a higher level of responsibility too. And I've had a struggle relationship with money a lot of it. I'm a spender, not a saver. And so I want, if I have it, I feel like I have it to spend. And so things like taxes and things like expenses just don't naturally come to the forefront of my mind. And I've really had to work on praying over fiscal responsibility and praying over those kinds of things because those are not natural for me. If I've got it, I want to go thrifting. I want to go spend it. I want to go buy the next course or the next software. And it's like, that's not where the impact is. The impact is in the work you do with that money.
Yes. And that's something like I talk about a lot is like intentionality with your money. Now, like obviously to transition into that, going from a steady paycheck to running your own business is such a huge financial shift. How does your relationship with money show up during that whole transition? Was it a little bit more like, okay, now I need to be more mindful, or was it still that same mindset of like, okay, I have money, I'm ready to spend it?
Well, I feel lucky. I started my business in August of 2023. And so when I got to tax season that next year, I had only had a few months of income, but I hadn't saved any of it for taxes, not a dime of it. And this is where the risk taker in me, like, I know business owners who didn't pay taxes for the first several years of their business and go back and clean it up and go back and fix it. And that's not the right way to do it. But
Yeah.
I have that peace of mind knowing that, like, my house isn't going to get foreclosed on for this, or I'm not going to like walk outside and someone's going to be towing my car away over this, as long as I'm, and so I don't want to panic about it. I don't, as much as it's like naturally I want to panic about money, I don't want to get too crazy. But also I learned in that moment not setting taxes aside. Oh, wait, now it cuts into this next year revenue. The first thing I have to do is pay off that money from last year. And I just hate being stuck in, like, I just want to write the check and be done with it and move on to the next year. I hate feeling like one foot's in another boat and the new foot's in this boat and the boats are slowly drifting away and I'm about to do the splits. And I just don't want my crotch in the water in that way. I really would much rather just be on top of it. And so now I have set up a reserve. I use Novo Bank and I really like them. They're a fintech. They're not technically a bank, but they have they have insurance coverage up to $250,000. They're really, really solid. Had no bad experiences with them. They have a great affiliate program too, where you can earn money by referring people. And they have a cool like bookkeeping feature where you can itemize each transaction. And so I've gotten to see where my money is going. And I have a reserve set up that right now is putting a higher percentage aside probably than I'll need to in the future because I'm paying back, like this year. I didn't have the money set aside and then I owe the government, $4,000 and it's not there. And now the rush to get it. And I'm like, I never want to feel like this again. I never want to feel like this again.
Yes, I relate with that really hard. So I'll tell you, like, because the first year that I was in business, I still was working full time until like I think it was February, and then my husband was also working full time. We actually got a refund that year still, even though I made money because I didn't make it like a lot of money. I made money, but I didn't make a lot of money. So we still got a refund. So this past year, the rule is that if you get a refund, you don't technically have to pay estimated taxes that year because like you didn't owe the government money. So the way I did that, I was like, okay, I'm not going to worry about like taxes next year. Let's see what the impact is. I've already prepped my taxes for this year. I haven't done them yet, but I'm like, I see the impact now. I'm like, I'm going to make sure that I put aside the money because I was like, I don't know. I don't know how big it's going to be. I want to understand how big it's going to be. And I'm like, okay, now I understand it. But I feel the same way that you do, where I'm like, I would rather just write a check and be done with it. I don't want to have this like burden over me to be like, hey, I need to pay this while it's cutting into this year. But I also told my husband that just the other day. I said, I feel like I understand why taxes are a thing, but I said at the same time, it feels like I'm being robbed of like all this money that I'm giving to them. Cause I'm like, I earned that. Like I worked so hard for that and they're taking it away from me. So.
And I really feel bad. I feel bad for other states because I'm lucky I'm here in Wyoming. So we don't have state income tax. We only have federal, which is great. If I was in California, still I would be getting sunk. But like you said, you don't know what to expect the next year. But that first year from August to the end of the year, I made a certain amount. And the following year, if you had times it by 3 and compared it to the next year, I doubled in revenue. And then this year right now I'm projected to double again. And so it's like I'm really getting to a point where thinking about the whole S Corp thing, I'm just starting to look into that. But then also, how nice would it be to pay quarterly taxes? How nice would it be to get to the end of the year and say, I only have to pay them for the last quarter because I've done it? I think it's so worth it. The money, you're going to have to pay it one place or another. And so I can like ostrich myself, like head in the sand. I want to go do this right now. I'm going to go do it because the money's in my account and I'm not, it's still mine right now. And it's like, no. Just think of that money as not even yours. Think of that money as it belongs to the government and you've got to pay it. And that's part of, I'm pretty sure that's in the Bible too, right? Is like paying your taxes and basically not breaking the law. And the law here currently is that you got to pay taxes, unfortunately. And until that changes, we really do have to honor that and steward that with a certain level of responsibility. It's not easy. So if you're listening and you're a spender and you're like, oh man, I've got an extra couple $100 here, I'm actually going to go do this thing with it. That thing that you think you need in that moment will probably not even be on your mind when the bill comes for the taxes. And you'll have wished that you had set that money aside because that's definitely how I kind of felt this past year.
Yeah, and I just did an episode on, it's coming out next month, but it's an episode on intentional investments. And it was inspired by one of my clients because what she did was she did an investment reflection where she looked back at her year and like all the big purchases that she did, and she analyzed not just if they were worth it, but like why she made those decisions, like why she purchased everything, whether it was just through emotion or whether it was actually because it like moved the needle in her business. And I
Hmm.
was thinking about that and I was like, this is what I tell my like people to do all the time, is to think about it before you actually purchase it, but also be really intentional with every dollar that comes into your business and every dollar that comes into your personal life, because there is so much that goes into it. And like a lot of the times, like you were saying, you set aside more than what you need for taxes as well. I always tell my clients at least 30%. And they're always like, oh, that's so much. I'm like, I get it. But would you rather not get money back at the end of the year instead of owing money to the government? Because if you got money back, it kind of feels like a little bit of a win. Yeah, you gave them more money than you needed to, but at least you're getting something back instead of owing them
Yeah, you have
more
a nice
money.
little cushion. I'm doing 20% right now, as the breakdown is 20, and then I pay myself
Yeah.
50% of top line, and then that other 30% stays in the business. I could definitely increase that to 25, but like I said, I don't have state income taxes, so the tax breakdown here
Yes.
is more like 13 to 15%, and I
Yes.
put 20 just so that way I'm because of right now I'm trying to catch up for last year and set aside for this year. And so yeah, that's been huge. And like you said about the impulse spends and things like that. I mean, a lot of us, it's so tempting in the moment, especially marketing is great, especially when you're following
Yes.
great people. Their marketing is so good. You want to buy everything that they have. And you think that it's going to solve the problem in the moment, whether it's templates or a new course or join this membership. And it's like,
Yeah.
if you took the time and like, if those things are just so moment, like in the moment, and like how many of us have Google Drives full of courses and PDFs and downloadables that we've never even looked back on? I know I definitely do. Um, and so
Yep.
auditing yourself, and I do this every month. I look at it's called Money Tings. It's my little spreadsheet of like what I'm spending my expenses on. And I look at even softwares like Claude, for instance. I was paying $20 a month for Claude, and I don't even use like as it's so much that I needed the 20. I can just use it for free for the amount that I use it. And
Yeah.
so $20 a month there. Memberships, if you're not using a membership, even if you feel emotionally tied to it, it's nothing personal. Hey, I'm going to hop out of this for right now and save that $100 a month, which is just speaking to something I'm going to be doing anyways. But yeah, just looking at your expenses, and because they add up, it's 15 here, it's 14
Yes.
here, 25 here. And before you know it, I mean, I would say my expenses right now are somewhere around like 350 a month, and then a couple annual expenses, things like HoneyBook and stuff. HoneyBook
Yeah.
and Flowdesk are my two annual expenses. So about probably 1,000 about for those two every year. But even then, it's like if you can get away with an online business that runs for under $200 a month and then plus whatever you pay your team, I mean, the profit that you can make from it, it's an opportunity. And you'll way rather have that money at the end of the year, like you said, if you set it aside versus, cool, I've got this huge library of things that I'm not necessarily using and haven't really served me.
Yes, yes. And I do. I feel like that's so, so important. A lot of self-employed people, I think, are very much like they are afraid to let go. Why do you think it's so hard for them to let people in? And like, how do you feel like you should start loosening that grip? Because I know that's something that you're really going through in this moment.
Sure. I just told my VA today, I said, I wish there was a coach, and I'm sure there is one, and somebody's going to listen to this and
Yeah.
pitch me, but a coach for delegation, because especially if you've never been a boss anywhere else, and I haven't, I've never even so much as been in really like any kind of managerial position. Dental assisting, I was always a one man show. I've always been, and I used to say, like, I'm the lone wolf pack, and I embraced
Yeah.
it. And what faith has taught me is how strong you can be in numbers and in a community. And I feel like what my church has taught me is you can trust people too. And
Yeah.
there are people who are worth having close, and people whose brains will work differently than yours that will complement yours in a way that you're so much
Yes.
stronger together than you would have been on your own. And I'm a really creative person. I'm really creative. I'm really artistic, and more big vision as far as like the funnel and the marketing of it all. But when it comes to like little things, like little logistics and numbers, I'm not as strong there. And so instead of trying to train myself to be strong in everything, I just would rather double down on what I'm really good at and
Yes.
delegate the things that I'm not as great at. And one of those is managing money. I really wish almost that somebody could just take all the invoices that get paid and hand me my money for the month, like, here's your personal, and everything else I'm going to go pay your expenses and pay your team with and put aside, and you're just not going to touch it. Like, burn my business debit card, don't touch it. And that
Yeah.
would be like the long-term goal, would be to have somebody that I can trust to do that, because obviously that comes with a lot of power too. But learning that there are good people out there that you can trust, and especially when you find people that with faith-based values. And my VA is not faith-based whatsoever. She's just somebody who I trust from experience. But as far as like bookkeeping with my money, it'll definitely be somebody that has a biblical mindset when it comes to stewardship, just because that's really, really important to me. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think sometimes people are like, am I hating on someone, or am I offending somebody by wanting to be around people that are closer to my values? And it's like, you're not, because there's going to be people
No.
for them too. But there's
Yes.
people divinely created and put into your life just for you. And so being able to discern like who you can trust and who has a good spirit about them and fruit that you want, because they can share their fruit in your business that you otherwise wouldn't have had at all. And you would have been relying on yours alone. And it can just be such a big blessing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I totally agree with that because, again, it's not to say that the person that we might be working with is not talented or might not be. It's a more of a matter of like those same values type of thing. Because I feel like when you let someone in that has those same values, and especially when you're handing off a part of your business, like for example, for me, the person that I'm working with with social media is also a faith-based person. So she understands why my content needs to reflect those faith-based values, why I want content to have some sort of faith-based aspect, why I want to post about my faith. And so I feel that's very important to me, is because, before, people wouldn't understand it and it wouldn't connect with it. Like I had a couple of social media managers that didn't connect with it. They just wanted to talk about business all the time. And I was like, I feel like I need to show that side of myself and I want it to be prevalent. So I need to work with someone who understands that side of
And
me,
it
like
does set you
who understands.
apart from a
Yeah.
consumer's point of view. I have so many bookkeepers on my Instagram who I've just connected with over threads or whatever, but you are somebody who stands out in my mind because I know we have that one thing in common. And that
Yeah.
to me, it's just, people think that it's going to be a weight or a setback to include your faith in your marketing, that you're going to isolate some people and repel some people. But first of all, good messaging does that. Good messaging does repel people
Yes.
and attract the right people. And second of all, the right people for you will love what you're putting out, will love, your hot takes or controversial. I hate the statement hot take or unpopular opinion, because it's like, it's everyone's opinions are unpopular to somebody,
Yes.
but yeah, I see your content and I see how outspoken you've been, especially when maybe people weren't in favor of it, Um,
Yes.
and I've always loved that you stayed true to that. And it to me stands out of like, if anyone ever posted saying, looking for a Facebook keeper, like, you're the person I'm tagging because you're the only one I can think of offhand, you and maybe like one or two other people. And it's like, what an asset that is, instead of, just being another bookkeeper and the rest of the bookkeeper side of Instagram.
Yes. Yes. And I think that's important too, is something that differentiates you from other people, like something that people know you for.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really good to hear. Now, I know one of the things that you wanted to talk about was pricing, because it's something that's really tricky. So what do you feel like are signs that a business owner is maybe undercharging that based on their prices?
I am painfully going through this right now myself. I priced what felt fair and honestly felt generous to me at one point in my business, but I have grown now. One of the signs is you're converting everyone. If everyone who hops on a discovery call with you immediately is like, send me the
Yeah.
contract and invoice, done deal, let's go, then, and has no objection to the price, then you really want to see your conversion somewhere around, like, I would say 60 to 75%, because you
Yeah.
want some people to say, oh, I don't have this in the budget just yet, but I would like to do this, or whatever it is. And also accounting for, you're not just charging for the hours it takes you to do the project, you're also charging for the experience and the time of learning how to do
Yes.
that. Yeah, maybe it takes me 30 minutes to bust out an email that would take you an hour and a half to write, but I also have spent years now refining that skill, and I continue to refine that skill, and that is worth paying for too. And so February was a huge learning lesson for me. I booked February to the gills, and it was my highest revenue month. I will say that. To be like totally transparent, I hit over 5K, which was like a goal of mine to hit a 5K month. And that was awesome. But I also right now am working like 8 to 10 hours a day of strictly writing time. And I used to have more like 15 hours a week of writing time. And right now I'm hitting that in like between a couple days. And so, yeah, in the future, we're going to be doing a whole overhaul. The other thing too is if you're charging for a la carte services, just one time, one off things, you want to price accordingly to like do packages and bundles, and don't ever charge hourly. Oh my gosh, please don't ever. If you're listening to this,
Yes.
never charge hourly. But don't, you want to break things up and let people build their own packages. But what that can do is attract the people who want to nitpick and just pick just a couple things and just pay the bare minimum. Whereas if you bundle things up and just say, hey, I'll do your 4 newsletters and I'll do this, and it comes with a call and this, and it's just one big price. And you need to map out how much time things are taking you. That's what we're going back through right now. Is I'm going through what each service takes, and I realized that I realized that things were taking A, longer than I anticipated, but B, because of the price I set, I was making significantly less than the average copywriter because I had priced thinking, oh, I think it takes me this long. And then when I wrote down the calls and the questionnaire and the revision rounds, I was like, oh, wow, this is actually a 14 to 16 hour service that I'm charging like $1,000 for. That's insane. So
Yeah.
you want to be converting not everybody. You want to be making enough that you're really comfortable, and keeping in mind, yes, a 5K month is great, but you're taking home, you heard me say, I take home 50% of that, right? So I made $2,500 a month to be working like 50 hours a week right now. That's where I'm at. And so realizing that that is not sustainable. I can't do that. I mean, a month of it has basically driven me to burnout. So I'm just learning that lesson. And if you're listening, take it as a lesson you don't need to learn by experience. Learn from me and just price yourself what is going to make you comfortable living, what allows you to provide a great service because you're not feeling resentful and you're not feeling like your standard can be lower because you're not making ish for it, So that all was a huge learning lesson.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. I went through a lot of struggling too with that as well because, people around me, like in my local community, are priced much lower than me, but I'm like, I'm not providing the same thing as they are. And that was something that I learned last year is time auditing. One of my coaches last year told me that you got to time audit yourself. You got to do time everything to analyze how much time you're spending on this stuff. And same thing, when I looked at it, I was like, oh wow, like I've never charged monthly because the program that I signed up for, like I knew how to do bookkeeping because that's where I came from corporately. And I just felt like I was very much called to do this accounting thing because similar to you, and you were talking about at the beginning where you're like, oh, you're a good copywriter. In my corporate job with accounting, the CFO that was there told me like how fast I was picking all of this up. And he was like, I cannot believe that you don't have a degree in accounting. And he's like, you just know stuff. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just doing it. I'm just doing it. So that same thing that stuck with me. And I was like, I feel like that's God telling me something like,
you
do
know
that.
about the gifts of the Holy Spirit, right? This is what I watched.
Yeah.
I watched a video on this last night. I think the girl's name is Ashley Harrington. She's on YouTube, and she posted a video about the 9 gifts. And I didn't know that I'll be so honest, you guys, I'm a newer Christian, so I'm not a Bible expert. I'm just reading through it the first time right now. But she talked about the 9 gifts, and I didn't realize there were specifically 9 gifts. And what you just mentioned right now, I think, is the word of knowledge or wisdom of knowledge, word of knowledge. I think it's word of knowledge. But the gift of just this inherent knowing without necessarily having the experience that would would give you that kind of knowing. It's almost like an inherited knowledge, and you're not even totally sure where it came from. But that sounds like that's your gift. It's just your knowledge of money and your understanding of numbers. Where some of us, it's like our worst nightmare. It's our worst struggle. And same with me. I mean, there's people who are like, writing an email would be like the worst part of my week. And I'm like,
Yes.
really? Like, I could not do whatever it is they're doing, whether they're a health coach or whatever. It's like, gosh, to be on 20 calls a week coaching sounds like my worst nightmare. So to be able to help each other with our gifts and serve the greater good and serve the kingdom in a way that we're all going to be in our zone of genius. I wish that for everybody. I pray that for everybody, that everyone could find out what their gift is and build a business around it, because you can make great money doing something you love that feels good. Work doesn't have to feel like something you hate doing, or that, there's always gonna be things aspects of your job you don't love, but being on your gift. And if you don't know what your gift is and you're not sure, ask God, say, reveal my gift to me. Tell me exactly what my gift is, because I'm not totally sure about it. And looking back, I can remember so many times I've always been told I have great writing skills, or that, man, you wrote that and it just like brought me to tears, or it did this. And I'm like, really? That was just my Facebook stand. And my parents have
Yeah.
always said that too. You're profound with your words. It's crazy. And now I look back and I'm like, oh, I was like a writer all along. My parents are both firefighters. And so I always was of the understanding that to make good money, you will work very hard and you will endure very hard times, and you will have to carry the weight
Yeah.
in a way that feels burdensome. Because, my parents both saw a lot, brought a lot of baggage home. And I never realized until I saw the online coaching kind of entrepreneurship world that I started seeing women and men, but I mostly surround myself with women. That's just who I feel, safest being surrounded by. But seeing them making this great money, being moms, being active and present moms, being emotionally available for their kids and for their businesses. And I was like, what is this? Like, this is crazy. I didn't even know this world existed.
Yes. Yes. There's so much, and it's so interesting and complex. And if we kind of like loop back to that, like paying yourself thing, I think a lot of the stuff that we don't think about is the admin, the other side of things, just everything. Like, yeah, okay, maybe I don't have a degree. Like, I do have a degree in accounting because after that guy said that, I went to school because they paid for half of my school. But I felt like as I was going through school, I felt like I'm like, is this all there is? I'm like, why is it like, again, I don't say this to brag, but like I went through school with like the university with a 4.0 GPA, but I work hard for it. But at the same point, I was like, how do I know this stuff? Like, and I think that's what you're saying is like, it's just, it kind of came to me naturally. And everybody thinks like, oh, you're so great at math. You're so great at math. I'm like, actually, I really suck at math. Like, I will be 100% honest with you. I went through high school sucking at math. I still can't do a lot of math. I don't know how to do A plus B equals Y, whatever. I can do basic adding, but math is not a part of what I do. Everybody says, oh, it's so much math. I'm like, math is so like minimal. Like I use a calculator for any math I
It's
do.
like meticulous kind of work. It's really
Yes.
hard. And as somebody with ADHD, it's really hard. I just going through my transactions, it's like to know that there's somebody that gets any kind of joy by going line by line, seeing, oh, this is where you went. This is the date. Here's how much money you spent. Like, I want to bang my head on a keyboard. I just kept saying this last time preparing
Yes.
for my test, because I prepare and file myself. I was like, I never want to do this again. It was the worst. It took me all day. It was like a 10-hour day of itemizing all my transactions, categorizing. I was like, this sucks. This sucks. And no
Yeah.
offense, I love that you love to do it. God bless you for having that gift, but it is not my strength. And I can relate to you with the math thing, because it's like with English class, I remember we used to have to write essays and stuff. And I've always been a creative style writer.
Yes.
And I used to get like fouled for having things like you see in my copy. I write like an N with an apostrophe, because it's like I don't pronounce it with the ing. It's in, nailing it. I'm nailing it. That's how I talk. And I've always written that way. And in school, my teachers were always like, okay, we get that you're trying to write how you talk, but here's how to do it correctly. And I hated the correctness. I hated that. And now you see that that's the trend. That's what works in marketing, is writing like you talk. And so maybe I'm not going to be an English teacher. Maybe I'm not going to homeschool my kid on how to use proper grammar and punctuation in every situation, but definitely, it's a different kind of writing. It's a different thing. So I totally understand what you mean by, I'm not, the algebra major, but I can get your books right.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think that's the important part. Like, and the analysis part of it as well. That's something that I'm so passionate about, is like actually, and that's my favorite part actually, is the analysis, like diving deep into it and like figuring out the hows and whys and everything. That's what everybody always asks me, like, what does that mean? Like when I talk about intentionality with money, I talk about literally looking at that transaction where you spent $6 on coffee and asking yourself if that moved the needle forward or if you felt like it was really worth it. And of course, if you're like, yes, that made my day that much better, I felt all fired up, I felt great, then I'm like, good, that's exactly what I want for you. But if you were like, why did I spend that $6 on coffee? That's more like where I want you to think about and say, okay, how do I prevent that from happening so that I can keep more money in my pocket?
Totally. Or you're spending this much on this membership. How much do you love this membership? What is this membership doing for you? Okay, well, in a year, you're going to spend $1,200 on it? Do you feel like you're getting $1,200 worth of value? And
Yes.
to put somebody, and it's not in a way that's, you're not attacking anybody, you're not
Yep.
interrogating anybody, but you are holding them accountable for their financial decisions and helping them make better ones. Because I know that you're training people that eventually it will go through their head before they enter their payment information for anything will be, how is this going to serve me? And so really what you're offering is more than just bookkeeping. You're offering them financial literacy and better money management skills, which I think we all could benefit from. And no, I totally see the value in what you do. And I think you charge really fair prices. I think you could charge more even for what you do. I think you're totally worth it. I'm like selling you right now. Sorry. But it's true. It's so true. It's like we think of bookkeepers, because initially I doubted it because I said, I don't need somebody to photograph my receipts and put them into QuickBooks. Like I could do that. I could do that myself or have my VA do it. And I've seen that lately, that there's a big trend right now of having VAs do bookkeeping. I don't know if you've noticed that, but I've seen a lot of people giving their VAs bookkeeping tasks. And I want to shift the question back to you. What is the danger in that? Why wouldn't I want to just have my VA do it? Why would I want to invest in a bookkeeper over that?
So I think that's really the difference, is like the difference in I don't want to say skills, but the difference in like where you are gifted. Because like, a VA is gifted in a different set of almost skills and like knowledge than a bookkeeper is. So they're going to know how to put that into a accounting software, sure, but they're not going to know how to properly analyze it or like look at the background knowledge of it. So they can do the categorizing and they can do the reconciling. And that's honestly, that's like the baseline of bookkeeping. That's the most basic thing you can do with bookkeeping. And one of the things that I told myself when I like went into this whole bookkeeping thing, I said, I'm not just going to do the baseline, because I said, that's not what I feel called to do. I feel called to help business owners make better decisions or make more profitable moves by actually understanding and looking at their numbers on a deeper level. So if we're saying, you have $5,000 in your bank account, but 4,000 of that is already allocated to expenses, the question you have to ask yourself is your VA going to know that, or is your bookkeeper going to know that? And if your bookkeeper is not intimately involved in those parts of your business, they aren't going to know that. And a lot of times they aren't, because that's not their...
They're like, you're $4,000 cash positive, and you're like, sick. Yes. And then really like all the transactions are going to go through on their renewal date. And then you're going to be like, what happened to my $4,000? And the VA is going to be like, well, you spent it. And it's more of a reactive kind of way of looking at money. It's more of a defensive than an offensive. So no, I totally see that. Because I had considered it at one point. There's a VA option I was looking into, and one of her services is like light bookkeeping. And I was like, yeah, and no like diss to her hustle, like do what you do, and she might be really gifted there and just be starting to plant that seed of like, hey, I really like looking at numbers. You don't know where someone else is at in their journey, but for you making those financial decisions and what you want out of the investment, if you're going to spend $500 to $700 to $1,000 a month on somebody to do your books, like I want you in there. I want you in there and telling me what I need to do and helping me improve, not just maintain.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's so important, because like that is a thing. I don't want you to be reactive anymore. I want you to be proactive. I want you to be thinking about it consistently. I always tell my clients that same thing what you said. I want to be that voice in your head that's like, ooh, is this going to be working for me? And I always tell my clients, it's not to judge you. It's not to shame you. It's not to say I'm smack you on the hand. It's more to say, is this working for you? And I'm like, I want you to think outside of the box of what you're thinking in, because you hired me because you're in your creative box and you're like, this is what I do best. And now I'm telling you, okay, this is what I do best. How do I get that to fit into your creative box?
Mm-hmm. I see it.
So what advice do you have for someone who's thinking about leaving their 9-to-5 but feels kind of nervous about making that big leap?
Well, it's hard for me to advise on this only because I was somebody who more like had to rip the Band-Aid off. But if you have the luxury, because it is a luxury to still have a job and be able to work on your business on the side, as much as some people are like, oh, it's so hard to balance both. Just think of how hard it would be if you got fired tomorrow and you had to be responsible for thousands of dollars of expenses and mortgage based on what you have built so far. So I would say if you have that luxury of having the job, don't jump ship until you have things set up. Either you're going to get a severance package, or that you have savings to cover you. I would say if you're going to rely on savings, have at least 3 to 6 months worth of expenses covered. Because I really
Yes.
wasn't
Yep.
profitable in my business until, I was not hitting like higher 4-figure months until 6 months of the year in even. And so I
Yep.
would say be able to cover yourself until then. The other thing is just like if you are faith-based and you are listening to the Holy Spirit, it will tell you when it's time to go. It will tell you when it's time to go, when you're good. And sometimes for some people, I'm like a jumper. I will leave with no plan, and that's just who I am historically, but I've always landed on my feet. That makes sense. And so I
Yep.
know that works for me, and I know that God's covered me in that way, but I also, for instance, if I had a tough client that I had to fire, I know I need to fire that client for another client to come into my life. And to
Yep.
someone else, that might be really risky. Like, I want to secure the next one before I fire them. But you just have to check in with the Holy Spirit and see what it's telling you to do, because everyone's going to be different. For me, it's typically a riskier situation. That's always what's panned out for me. But if you're not, and you're somebody who is a planner and who needs reassurance, because the worst thing I've seen is people jump ship from and I have a client who's done this. She jumped ship from her full-time job, and then the pressure was on when she wasn't even quite making enough to cover herself. The pressure was on, and now she's gone back to a part-time because, we discussed, she realized, hey, I don't like the stress and pressure of like, this has to
Yep.
cover. It takes all the fun out of it, takes all the passion out of it. And so we discussed it, and I said, like, go get another part-time job. You make good money part-time. Go work a couple days a
Yes.
week where you can cover childcare, cover your mortgage and stuff. And then you'll still have plenty of time to build the business. But when suddenly the business is like your everything, it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot.
Yes. Yes. And I can absolutely attest to that. And I don't think my case even is something that's like an example. Like, it's not even an example. Like, I tell people that I feel like my case was like one in a billion, maybe, that I got like my first client in a month. And then my business started taking off because then I got another client, I was like, I don't think that's something that everybody can do. And I've always told people that, like, you need to do what works best for you, not what works best for, because we're not the same. Like,
Right.
everybody's journey is different. And I think that's so important. Like, yes, we're all at different stages in our business journey. So if working a job, like even part-time, still feels like you'll be able to support yourself, that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, for sure, you could quit and put 110% into your business, but that doesn't mean you're going to get the clients
Right.
immediately.
You
It
can't
could
just
take a
post
month.
more. You can't just,
Yeah.
that's not going to be the answer. And I think the other thing
Yeah.
too is don't do it after one good month. Don't do it after one good month. Because you know what? I had my best revenue month last year in October after I took my business coaching. I was like, this is it. I'm now hitting the numbers I want to hit.
Yeah.
This is it. And then November and December were my worst months in business to date, like worse than even when I started out. It was rough. And then January and
Yeah.
February now have been my best months ever consecutively. And the urge to just be like, this is great. Let's hire a full team. Let's scale. It's like, okay, let's maintain this. Let's maintain it first and expand slowly and smartly, and not just shell out the money that you're making. Because and also figuring out when your seasons are. I'm sure you have this, like, nobody in November and December, everyone's already booked their campaigns. Everyone's scaling down to pay for Christmas presents. Black Friday is over and it's already been written. And if it's not, they're not going to write it till January. And so for me now, I know winter time is going to be a little slower, that we're going to nail all those sequences. The holiday stuff's going to be done in August and September and October. And then November and December, everyone's going to kind of retreat to their families and probably, scale down to just their newsletters and their content. And you can plan for that. So like the rest of the year, squirrel it away, because those are going to be slow months. And that's the other thing, is noticing trends and patterns, which I'm sure a bookkeeper helps with. Is like,
Yep.
hey, every year around this time, your revenue tanks. It's not you that you're sucking all of a sudden. It's the fact that, everyone's out on summer break and nobody's home actually working, or whatever it is. I know everyone's
Yep.
seasons are so different. Summer's been a great time for me. But yeah, those end of the year months where you're picking up because people are getting ready to get their stuff together and get their taxes done. So everyone's good seasons are going to be different, but pay attention to what trends you're seeing and patterns in customer, like, purchasing habits and things like that.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's so important, is because, again, yes, that's what we look at, is like, where are your slow periods? Because It does, it can fluctuate like sometimes too, because I've seen it a lot even with product-based business owners where, they have a really great month where there's a holiday, but then when there's no holiday, their sales go like down. Like Valentine's Day is a great month for them. St. Patrick's Day, especially when they gear their stuff towards those holidays,
Mhm.
they get a lot of sales. But then when you have a month with like no real holiday, for example, I don't know, January, let's just say, there's not really anything to like huge that they celebrate. Their month is a little bit slower. And that's okay because you know that it's not anything that's bad. You take that time to recuperate. You step back on your expenses. You make the good decisions. You keep your money where it needs to be. And then next month, you're going to start getting back to where you are. But I think that's something that a lot of people have to work on understanding is that there's not always that consistent, like up and up and up and up. Unless you have that monthly recurring revenue, it's going to be
Right.
very sporadic. And it's planning for that with, like you said, an emergency fund, which is
Yeah.
something I talk about all the time.
And
I
take
think
out
I've mentioned that every episode.
and take on a big project. Like if there's something that
Yeah.
you have needed to work on that has keeps getting pushed back because you've been so slammed with clients, when that slow month comes and you've saved for it, it's going to feel so nice to say, hey, the bills are good. I'm good. I don't have to worry about marketing really hard or anything. I really want to lean into redoing my website. I really want to lean into going and getting a brand shoe and getting my content refreshed so that next, a month from now, I just step right back into that good season, because I think that's the thing is we get down and then we panic and then we're not even enjoying the slow time because we're just worried about making it speed up again. And that's one thing I'm realizing, and I so associate it with like cycles with women too, like your fertility cycle, whatever it is during those slow, those like menstrual financial seasons, so to speak, you can really slow down, do the big projects, do some big vision stuff, scale
Yes.
back on the memberships and extra stuff. And then when things are really slammed and busy, you'll feel so ready for them because you'll have worked out your contracts and your workflows and your sequences. So
Yep.
being able to embrace them and know that, like, I used to say business ownership, and if you're listening and not watching, like business ownership, I thought was just a direct line upwards and slowly. And now I'm realizing it's like full of dips and full of mountains and peaks and valleys, and that's so normal. That's not an indicative that you're not gifted or that you're not qualified to do what you're doing. Every business goes through that. Like you said with the
Yep.
holidays, some big box stores and stuff, they're going to see slow times when they're not having big sales and things because people
Yes.
know the sale's coming. So and I have a whole theory about discounts. I don't believe in ever discounting your services. I think you should always charge full price and only add to the value, only add bonuses, add extras, but never go less on the price, because then what you create a buying habit in your customer, your clientele basically, that's like, hey, I know if I wait till Black Friday, their templates are going to go 40% off. So I'm just going to wait. And so personally, like if I'm advising any of my clients, it's that just don't ever discount. Don't promote that they're going to get a free session with you or that they're going to get something extra, but never go down on the price.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that. And I agree. I think that that's very important. A lot of times I think too that when you discount, I don't know, you feel a certain type of way about that person and
Mm-hmm.
it can create that kind of friction. So
Yeah.
instead of discounting, just add more value, add more.
Oh,
So if someone listening wants to build a healthier kind of money mindset or set better pricing, what do you think is a step that they should take today to kind of get to that point?
okay. First things first would be to know that, like, take the emergence off of it, right? Take the like, I need to figure this out now or else it's going to sink me. That's in your faith, right? Having faith that like he's going to lead you to figuring it out. The other thing would be to get help from somebody you really trust, get advice from somebody. And you can, if you can't afford somebody, just be honest about that and maybe reach out to someone you trust and say, hey, I'm not in a place to hire you, but what would I do right now to prepare to hire you? What would make me a dream client for you that I can do in the meantime? The other thing, and I'm only going to recommend this book. I haven't read it yet. It's actually going to get here today, but I saw somebody post about it, and it's a faith-based book. It's called Buy the Damn Coffee, and it's about. Have you heard about that book?
No.
It's for women that are Christian, all about eliminating the guilt and shame around money, and that maybe like the differences aren't always in those. And I'm telling you based on the summary. Like I read the summary, I saw another business coach recommend it. We're talking about guilt and shame here, right? So I'm not saying that you should
Yeah.
always go buy the damn coffee and always, because we did talk about that being a hidden expense too. But do the things that bring you joy if they're going to cost.
Yes.
One thing I just did is I got a gym membership that is a pricey gym membership. It's CrossFit and it's like $150 a month. And it felt so selfish and so indulgent. But what it's done for me and how it's allowed me to show up in the rest of my work and my business and my life, it's going to pay for itself. I guarantee it. So just knowing learning that you can spending is not a terrible thing, right? You're not a bad person because you're a spender, not a saver. Because we kind of put them against each other, right? We're like, you're either a saver and the angel or you're a spender and you're bad. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, no. Like we have trends and habits that we're going to lean into. I'm a spender by nature, but that doesn't mean I can't save. It doesn't mean I'm incapable. And it's just a journey, and everything in life is a journey, not a destination, right? There's no like, you're never going to get there and be done with it. And so just don't expect that you're ever going to hit that point. And I think when you open yourself up to being coachable like that and being trainable, that just changes. You have fun along the way. Like you don't have to hate it until you get there. You can actually have a really good time along the way and be enjoying the learning process, And you're going to slip up. It's never going to be like a gradual increase all the time. You're going to go buy something stupid and go buy a viral reels course. And then you're going to hate yourself for it because there's no refund policy. And you know what? Don't go do a chargeback. Don't go like, don't be impulsive, but know next time when somebody's running a sale and you feel the urge to get it, really talk to yourself or your bookkeeper if you have one and say, hey, I'm kind of wanting to get this thing. Like I feel pulled to it, and talk and let them help you through it. Let them say, hey, well, what are you going to get out of this? What is this course promising you? Like, do you need that right now? You know?
Yes. And that really ties back to that like intentional investment episode I was talking about where, we asking ourselves those questions. Is this going to be worth it? Can I learn this a different way? And that's not to say that you shouldn't purchase something if you're really passionate about it, because I think and at the end of the day, you want to ask yourself, is it going to be worth it, or am I doing this emotionally? And that's where I always tell, like in that episode, I talked about sitting with it for a while. Like what I have in ClickUp is a list where I would fill out a form and put what I want to buy, what it costs, everything like that. And then I sit with it for at least 24 hours, sometimes longer, and say, do I really want this now? Like, I thought about it for a while. Do I really want it now? Or can I just pass on it?
I almost spent $1,000 the other day and this was just me panicking. I was feeling very overworked. I was feeling like, I don't know. I need to increase my prices because I cannot work like this forever. And I thought I was going to pay somebody to solve my problem. And when I really looked at what that person was offering for the $1,000, and that would have been the tax money that I have set aside right now. I did not have that in like my checking ready to go. And so I thought about it and I sat on it and I prayed on it. And it was like, I kept hearing, you have everything you need right now. You have everything you need right now. Do the most with what you have right now. And that will grow. But the $1,000 on this strategist to do an audit on my business, it was like, I don't need that right now. I don't need it. And that was the reality. And I was so glad I sat and thought on it because I was so close. I was almost like, invoice me. Like, I'll do it. Okay. And it was like the next day I woke up and was so happy to have that $1,000 towards my $4,000 that I owe in April. So yeah, think about it. Think on it. Don't have to do it right now. If it's the right thing, it will still be there for you in 24 hours.
Yes. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today, Cassidy. I appreciate it. Where can my audience connect with you, learn more about you, or how they can work with you?
Sure. So I'm a messaging strategist and copywriter. I am all about getting the words right so that you can sell seamlessly and earn trust from those that you are called to serve. My social handles are the Copywriting Mama on every platform. I'm mostly on Threads and Instagram. I always say, if you love me at my Threads, you deserve me at my Instagram, because my Instagram's a little bit more refined. But there, and then also I have a website, www.thecopywritingmama.com. I do everything from brand messaging strategy to website copy, email copywriting, and I'm starting to sprinkle some social content back in there too. New packages and pricing will launch on April 1st, and I'm pretty much booked out until then. So if you're going to hire me, you'll be hiring me at my new pricing, and you will get a version of me that is so joyful. Not that I'm not right now, but so joyful and grateful to do the work without having to pile it on like crazy. Anyone wants to connect or have any questions, just shoot them on social media. I always say questions are free. So yeah, I'd love to talk to anybody listening.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for being here today, Cassidy. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Here's the truth, friends. You don't have to do it alone. Control might feel safe, but it's not the same as security. Letting go, especially when it comes to money, is an act of trust, not weakness. And when you trust the right people with the right support, your business grows, your peace expands, and your capacity multiplies. Cassidy's story is proof that success isn't about knowing everything. It's about staying open, asking for help, and letting faith lead the way forward. So if you've been clinging tight to the money side of your business and afraid to let it go, here's your gentle nudge to know that you don't have to carry it all. As always, if you found this episode insightful and the conversation that me and Cassidy had really, really good, please rate and review the episode and share it with a friend. And we will see you next week. Farewell, fellow travelers.